Good morning. It's April 1st. It's a Saturday, 2023. It's John Gilkison here, Aerostealth. And I just wanted to shoot a quick video this morning on the gear we're taking on our trip with us to charge our car. Now we have a standard EVSE, which is 120 volts, but also inexplicably enough, these units are dual voltage. They will run on 240 volts. My guess is that's because that's what they use in Europe, and they just use the same EVSE. So it has two Moffats in it, and when it's running on 120 volts, it's only using one of those Moffats. So anyway, I wanted to explain my gear because we've rigged it up so that I can charge both at 240 volts and, of course, 120 volts. So I wanted you to see all this. So here we go. This is a tour. I've laid it all out on the garage floor. And of course, this is the head end of the EVSE. And there it is. It's just got a couple lights on it. It'll tell you if you have a fault. Like one time I plugged it in without a ground and it gave me a red light, and that's what it was. So this is the 240 volt plug. Now this is an adapter to adapt it to 240 volts. And I made this myself. There's no neutral because I don't need it. And it's just one less plug to try to jam in. These things are hard to plug in enough. If you don't need the neutral, you can get by without it. So my German Shepherd here, wanting to know what I'm doing. Now this is a combiner box right here. So if we're going to be at a cabin at the lake for 3 days, and if I can find two separate circuits, I can combine those 220 volt circuits to spit out 240 volts. And the way I'll know that is, there he is. Oh, there it is. You see that little green button there? That's a green LED light. And that green LED light will light up when I have 240 volts. And here's my two extension cords. Now I just bought this one. Turns out it's a slightly thicker gauge than the one I have for the house for running my vacuum and stuff. But both of these extension cords are 25 feet long. They will carry at least 15 amps or more, and I only need 12 amps per cord. So now here I have a kilowatt meter, which I wish I had two of them, but they're 27 bucks, and then I just spent $21 for this extension cord. So I probably spent about $60 making this damn thing up. But it was an interesting project. So what you have here is, of course, these are normal extension cords, but when you come into this part of it in the combiner, the two hots go to each one of these, and the neutrals bond to the back of the box. And you can see I have a double nut on that to lock it down. And then of course the ground goes to the ground. And that's it. So you got a hot coming in on each leg going to each hot, and that makes 240 volts. And as long as the two circuits are not on the same side of the bus in the breaker box, then and supposedly they're out of phase and you get a 240 volts. Now if you don't get 240 volts, let's say you plug into two outlets that are on the same circuit, you'll just get 120 volts. And this light won't light because one of the legs isn't there. And that's a 240 volt LED light. And then my two hots go into these two right here. Here's my ground. And then of course this magically becomes a hot here and a hot here. And that gives me, instead of a hot and a ground, a hot and a neutral, this is the ground. I'll have two hots on this. So what I'll get is a green LED light on here to say I have 240 volts. And if I get a green LED light here, it means I'm good to go. And then when I plug in the car at this end, I'll get green lights on the dash that are flashing. It'll say I'm charging. And the other thing I'll get on the dash is if I'm charging with 120 volts with this rig, the dash will read out 1 kilowatt. But if I'm charging with 240 volts with this rig, it'll read out 3. Now the reason for that is it's just a rounding error. I'm actually charging at 120 volts. I'm charging at 1.44 kilowatts. Set this back up again. Probably made you dizzy enough there. At 120 volts, I'm charging at 1.44 kilowatts, and it's just rounding down to 1 kilowatt. And when I'm charging at 240 volts, I'm charging at 2.88 kilowatts, and so it's rounding up to 3. And so there you have it. You got all this stuff going. You'll know that you're charging. And when I'm charging at 120 volts, let's say overnight, I can charge for 12 hours. I can get about 50 miles of range added to the car. But if I'm charging at 240 volts, I can get 100. And that's a big difference. And that's going to make a difference. We're going to be doing a lot of charging on the road, DC fast charging. And if I can charge, some convenience charging at our rental cabin, and then we'll be visiting my wife's daughter, and his son-in-law, of course. At their house, we might be able to pick up some charging because we'll be spending some time there. So, and one of the things, of course, too, that's going to be a good indicator is this kilowatt meter right there. Now, if I had two of them, I could get each one of them to tell me that it was how many watts it was putting out, how many amps. And I'd know I had 240 volts from that alone. So, don't ask me what that dog is doing. But anyway, even with one, I could switch them. Just take the kilowatt meter. I'd unplug the car, of course, first, so I wouldn't have the load. And I would unplug the kilowatt meter and take it over to the other outlet that this one is plugged into right here where my foot is, and then plug it in. And if I got the same readouts at each, once I had the load put back in, I would know I had 240 volts also from that. So there you have it. I'm going to let you go, and hope this helped a little bit. This is all homemade stuff. A lot of the stuff you can buy off the shelf, but I thought it'd be interesting to make it just in order to learn, and I did. Thank you. Bye-bye.